So on the 25th of September 2022, our editing room in our studio building got engulfed in fire. The fire ended up damaging our podcast studio, our editing gear, review devices, items even got looted, and also left a major damage to the building. Here's what happened. Where do I start? A day prior to this fire incident, I had recorded late into the night. I think I left the studio at about 9:30 p.m. and my editor had some stuff he was working on and he decided to stay over at the studio. So the following day, which was on Sunday, he came over to my place and some things were not properly turned off down at the studio. So he got over to my place at about 11 a.m. that morning, and at this point I was trying to finalize the scripts for the recording I had that Sunday, because I batch record these videos, like 10 to 20 videos on Sunday, and dish them out here on Instagram. So barely 30 minutes into his stay at my place, my security guy at the studio calls me on the phone and is like, "Oga, fire and smoke everywhere." Now at this point I didn't know what to think. I just told him to get help, break in and check what was going on, that I was on my way coming over to the studio. And this was the most reckless 5 minutes drive I've ever driven in my life, endangering other Nigerians and myself, and I just didn't know what to think. Now I get to the compound running like a madman with my fire extinguisher at hand, thinking it's something I could quill, So when I got to the staircase, I couldn't even make it past that point because the heat and the smoke was really terrible. It was really dangerous for anyone to get into that kind of situation. I was definitely going to pass out if I had entered in that kind of smoke and heat and all that. It was at this moment I realized that this was something beyond us. We couldn't quell this fire. And I tried calling 112, that's the emergency number, so that the fire service could come over and quell the fire. Now these guys were busy asking me some really terrible questions, if I was sure about the fire, if I could see it and things like that. It was really terrible that they were going to get me arrested if I was lying to them and stuff like that. So that's besides the point. These guys arrived, I think about 40 minutes to an hour later, and everything was really burning at this point. So between the periods of my calling these guys and their arrival, the security guys around the area tried making these makeshift fire extinguishers, running hose from downstairs, the water pumps and all that, trying to climb with ladders, shattering windows, doors, trying to, quell the fire. While some other security guys were downstairs trying to get things out of the building, TVs and other things from downstairs. The fire wasn't downstairs, it was just upstairs, but trying to get things to safety. And this was where the major looting happened, because these guys were busy taking things for themselves. Yeah, they did. So the fire service arrived and of course put out the fire, but the damage had already been done. We had lost all our editing devices, over 40 smartphones, about 6 laptops were in that particular room. Our 4-person podcast studio, which had the microphones, the headphones, the recording devices, all got burnt. And also our dedicated top-down sets, which we did our unboxing videos because we didn't want to tear down and build things every time we want to unbox smartphones and devices. Devices we had to review that we hadn't even made videos on. Everything got burnt. Did I mention our server got burnt too, with our backup NAS, which had about 64 terabytes worth of data and drives in there. Hard drives, everything that were in that room basically got touched. So the items that got saved were the gadgets and items that were in this particular room, our Studio A, where we shoot the A-rolls. And my cameras were in here because I had recorded the nights prior to that incident. So the cameras were safe. But basically upstairs here got smoked out and we had to redo the POP in that particular room and repaint the whole of the building because the smoke was really terrible. It got down to everything here. So later on after the incident, one security guy around the area met with me and gave me about 4 phones. So that's out of the 40-something phones in the studio, I have about 4 of them left. And it was really a mess. And the reason I haven't really updated you guys in the past 3 weeks was because we were trying to get some things in place, like, the paint jobs and every other thing, the doors we were trying to put back in place, the screening and all that stuff. So I don't exactly know what started the fire, but from what we garnered, there was an explosion at the transformer in the area and it somehow fed back to the building. No circuit breaker was damaged or, cut and all that, but it somehow got into the editing room because, things were on, and yeah, that's where we find ourselves today. And I didn't have insurance. Learning the hard way. Before I go on, I think I need to say this. The amount of love you guys showed me was really amazing. Like, I haven't felt that in my life because you guys called, text messages, DMs, People were checking in on me days after the incident had happened. And this was both inspiring and motivating and made me want to come back immediately. It's given me a new perspective and insight to this whole thing we've built here. It's not just a community, it's like a family down here. I'm super grateful, guys. And also, one of your favorite tech YouTubers sent me a gift the following day. It was and still is really appreciated, man. Thank you so much. So what's next? We've pretty much purchased equipment to get things running here in the studio, some of which have arrived, as you can see here, but a lot of them are still on the way down to the studio. Probably this weekend or next week, we should have things running here. And I think I'll be showing you guys my thought and setup process while getting this gear set up in the studio. So if you want to be a part of the whole process and see my journey through setting these things up, you have to follow me on Instagram, because that's where I'll be dropping that kind of content. But basically, we're back, so you should expect to see content on the channel from now. That's about it. Thank you, guys. Cuidate.